May I ask you something? Have you taken a moment to really look back on this year? Not just what you've accomplished, but what God's been doing underneath the surface, in your heart, in your habits, and in your focus. If you're like most of us, it's really easy just to jump into the next goal, into the next project, the next big thing. But sometimes the most powerful progress happens when we pause long enough to notice what's already grown. Welcome to Flourish, the podcast for faith-driven mompreneurs who are ready to release overwhelm, create sustainable, healthy habits, and build purpose-driven businesses aligned with their faith, family, and vision. I'm Stephanie Book, a transformational mindset, wellness, and business coach. I'm here to equip you with the tools, mindset shifts, and encouragement to help you flourish. If you're ready to grow a thriving life and business while staying aligned with your faith, purpose, and priorities, you're in the right place. You are worthy and capable of living a full and flourishing life. Success isn't just possible, it's meant for you. Let's dive in. Hey there, and welcome to the Flourish Podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I'm so glad that you are here. Can you believe we're stepping into the final stretch of the year? It really is one of my most favorite times of the year, not just because of the hustle and bustle and all those things, but because it's time to pause. Yep, before we rush into the new goals and ideas, it's really time to reflect on what God has already done. Because the truth is, growth doesn't start with the striving. It really starts with stewardship. It starts with the things that happen underneath the surface, the things that are starting to build in our lives that we want to take time to notice. And we get to reflect back on the whole year and look at where God has showed up, the places that we have grown, maybe the places where we've seen some slip-ups along the way, maybe some choices that we've made, that we've shifted, that maybe we will notice that we want to change. It's not always just reflecting on everything we did good, because we're going to learn from those things that we have reflected over the time, over the year. But it's so important to take this time to reflect, to really look at what we did this year. How did we measure up to those goals we made last year? Where did we show up even greater than we expected? Where are the places that maybe didn't work out the way that we wanted? Did we shift? Did we change our perspective? Did everything completely take a 180, right? So it's really good to take this time before we really jump into the craziness. We're in November now, so we know that this is like a fast speed, right, to the end of the year. But this is my favorite time of year to really start looking ahead what we want to create. But the first thing we want to do before we ever jump into what's next is looking back at what we've done. And so that is where I want to do to start with today. So if you've been feeling like progress is slow or wondering where the fruit of all your effort is, this is going to remind you that God's still working behind the scenes. When we start looking at all those evidences of what's happened, those unseen seasons really don't seem wasted, but you can see that growth. We often underestimate reflection because it doesn't feel productive, right? But it's actually how we get to see what God's been building. And I've talked about this verse a lot. It's one that we use a lot. He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion, right? Philippians 1:6. But it just reminds us that he hasn't stopped working. Even in the progress that feels hidden, God is there. He's working on us. He's continuing to grow us. He's continuing to sharpen us and continuing to equip us. And so we want to take time to look for those evidences of where God has worked in us and where he's continuing to work. We are most likely not the same people that we were a year ago, right? We've walked through different seasons of life. We've walked through maybe different things in our life. Maybe we've lost a job. Maybe we've gained a family member. Maybe we've lost someone that we really care about. Maybe you came up with a health diagnosis that was completely out of the blue. Maybe you've shifted in your business. Maybe you decided to start your own business. Maybe you really took charge of your health this year, or maybe you slipped back on your health a little bit, right? This reflection is a way of honoring what God has done and preparing our heart for what is next. So when we take this time to look at those things, we don't want to look at it as a critical way, but a way of growth. A way is to look for that opportunity to not only see the things that we have improved in, see the places that we can maybe change or improve on, but most of all, see where God has worked and be able to reflect on all the amazing things and the ways that he has showed up for us. And we spin through life so quickly that we often don't take the time to do this. In an ideal world, we reflect at the end of the day, then we reflect at the end of the week, and then the end of the month, and then the end of the quarter, and then the end of the year. But that's not always how we do things. And so this is a good time. If you haven't done any reflecting over the year, it's okay. There's no judgment here. I just want to give you the chance to have this space to prepare your heart by reflecting back first before we start looking at all of the things that we want to do this coming year. So I want to take you through a few simple reflection prompts that you can use this week. These are the same ones I use in my brand new CEO Clarity and Structure Board. It's so exciting. I'm so excited to have this for you. But it will help you slow down. It will help you look back. And it'll help you see the story God's been writing for you as you have been living your life. So these questions are a few things that are inside that Trello board. And so I'm going to just share a few of these with you because there's a space right inside that Trello board that gives you that space, reminds you to do this reflection. And so these are some things that you can take some time. If you're driving, you can just, pull over the side or just mark this part of your episode, write down the timestamp, whatever you need to do so that you can come back and write down these questions, or just grab the Trello board. It will be in the show notes and it's absolutely free. So I would love for you to grab that because you'll get these prompts and so many more things. But I would encourage you to look through these, answer these questions as you begin to look back. So number one, ask yourself what worked well this season. What are the things that you can recognize that worked well? What can you pick out from this past year that you are like, wow, that was awesome. I'm so glad I decided to do this or that, right? What worked well? That's pretty easy, right? It's easy to find. I think actually, honestly, we're very critical. So we're really quick to look at the things that didn't work well. But I encourage you, let's start with the things that did work well. Once we've done what works well, then we can go look at, what didn't go as planned. What did you learn from it? Like, that's a big part. Not just what didn't happen, but what did you learn from it? Where did you grow from that? What changed or shifted because of that? So our plans are not always going to go the way we want them. I mean, we talk about that all the time, how God will come up and he'll show up. He always shows up, but it's sometimes not in the way that we expected at all. So those closed doors, like I talked about last week, sometimes those closed doors will open up something even better. But what didn't go as planned, and what did you learn from it? And then number 3 is, where did I see God's hand in the work, in those small moments? Are there places that you know that something shifted and changed? Did you take time to recognize that could have been from God and how that shifted everything? Or maybe there's just the really small things, little tiny things that happen. Maybe you received a call from a friend that absolutely hit you at the right time. I remember a long time ago now, it was soon after my husband and I moved here to Ohio. So it was a long time ago. And I was still new in the area. I was going to church. I was at a Bible study and I didn't really know very many people at all. And just trying to get my feet wet, trying to figure out who I was and, not who I was, but really who I was in this new place, this whole new, complete different state, right? And I was walking out and I received a text message from a girl that I had met one time that we connected a tiny bit. And she just sent me a text message thinking about you and asked if I wanted to kind of get together. And I can't remember what all it said, but I just remember being valued and seen. That was a small moment. One little tiny text that she sent me shifted my entire day, my entire week, and it created a friendship from one simple text. So where are those moments? Where are those small little moments that you can recognize, that you can write down, that you can record, that you can be grateful for? Those kind of things are sweeter. Sometimes those little tiny moments are sweeter than the really big ones. And so take some time to see where God showed up in those small moments. And then the next one, what am I grateful for that maybe I overlooked? Is there something that happened that you didn't take the time to be grateful for? Or maybe you just overlooked it as something like, oh, somebody always does. But maybe you recognize, oh my goodness, my husband has taken out the garbage every single week for like 6 months. I don't think I've ever even told him thank you. He just started doing that, right? I mean, those little tiny things. Maybe it's something where someone just has showed up and brought you, a nice gift, or maybe you received a letter in the mail, or maybe you come in to work every day and you recognize that someone has filled up the coffee station, and you come in every day and it's filled up. And those little tiny things. What could you be grateful for? So take some time to reflect for those things. Look for those little areas that you can be grateful for. And then what is one thing that maybe you want to carry forward in the next season? What is something that you did or you discovered this year that you want to push forward, that you want to bring into the next year? Those are some things that we're not planning ahead for next year. We're reflecting back. But what are those key things or those areas that you want to make sure you are continuing to carry on? We don't need a perfect plan to move forward, but this perspective, looking back, it helps us move forward better when we've taken that time to look back and be grateful and notice the things that have happened in our lives and how we can create them. So if you are like me, reflection sometimes does feel kind of messy. Your mind goes in 100 different directions and you just don't know where to start. And so again, I created the CEO Clarity and Systems Board. This is going to help you. If you're an entrepreneur, this is really meant for you. But I think that I do have other tools. So if you are not an entrepreneur, make sure that you reach out to me. I have my Faith and Flourish Reflection Journal that would be very helpful for you. Or I have my Faith and Flourish Trello board, which has some similar things, maybe not as robust, but I would think that even you might enjoy the CEO Clarity and Systems Board too. So these reflection prompts and many more things are inside there, but this would be a tool that would help you. For me, having some type of tool or something that helps guide me through my reflection and through my week, it's so helpful. So that Trello board has the reflection prompts, but it also has a space where you can reflect on your weekly focus and look at what you want to focus on, your top 3 priorities, looking at what God revealed this week and journaling that out, and having a short faith check-in, and there's scriptures and ways to ground yourself in that. So those are tools that I've provided for you because it's so important. And when we have a guide, we have somewhere we know we can look at where to go for that reflection that will help. For me, I know when I take time to write things down, I start to notice patterns. And the reflection that we're doing, it becomes less about perfection, more about peace, because we're able to recognize the things that have happened, and we'll be able to look back and kind of be grateful for those things, reflect on those things. And when we have that chance to write it down, we have the prompts that we need, we're able to do that. And honestly, reflection can be almost an act of worship. When we're taking back time to look back at what God has done, we get to then carry it over and thank the Lord. Spend some time in prayer, thanking the Lord for what he has done, writing a gratitude list, putting down those different things that God has showed up in. And what you can do is really turn that back to worship to the Lord as you are looking at all the ways that God has showed up, the different ways that things that you've walked through and the ways that you've grown, and you will be able to spend that time worshiping the Lord and thanking him for what he's done for you. So friends, if this has been a hard year, just take heart that it's okay. You're being built. The same God who began that work in you is still bringing it to completion. So take this time to reflect back. And if you don't like what you see, first of all, I guarantee that there's things that you can celebrate. There's things there that you can look back on and see where God has showed up, where you made a decision that might have been hard and you pushed forward, where you've stepped in, maybe not perfectly consistent, but consistently showed up for the things that were important to you. Did you brush your teeth every day? Hey, there you go. That's kind of rhythm, but you can find something, I guarantee it, to celebrate, things to reflect back on. And when you look at it at the posture of how I can be grateful for what God has done in my life in this past year, it can really shift our focus less off of us and more on how God has showed up and what he's carried you through. And so I really encourage you to take that time to spend time in reflection. Use those prompts that I talked about earlier. Grab the CEO board so that you can have other things right in front of you if you want. But I really encourage you to do this time of reflection so that when we move forward into the coming year, we will have so much already prepared for us as we look to what we want to create next. So as we move into the next few weeks, we're going to be shifting from reflection into intention. So I'm going to walk you through how to finish the year strong, not by adding more things, but just aligning what matters most. So this week, I want to challenge you to find at least 15 minutes of stillness. Grab your journal or open up the CEO board that you're going to download, or just pick your favorite place that you like to write things down. I encourage you to write it down, but you can type it out. Like the clarity and system board, you could type right into there, or you can write something and snap a picture and put it in there, or just use it for prompts and write in your journal, right? So there's lots of different ways that you can do this, but I encourage you to spend about 15 minutes and, start journaling that out. What worked this season? What did you learn? Where do you see God's faithfulness? You might be surprised how much growth you'll see, just even when you pause long enough to notice it. I think you'll really be surprised, and I think you will enjoy the exercise. And then one more thing is then after you've done that reflection, go to the Lord, spend some time worshiping Him, thanking Him for the ways that He has shown up in your life. Thank Him for the lessons that you've learned along the way. And then as you go through all that, then you can ask Him to help you set the intention that He has for you as you come for the next year. But again, you don't have to do the intention for next year. We'll start doing some of that next week. So just do reflection this week. And remember, if you want that tool, just drop systems below, or you can just grab the link right below. And it should help you reflect and simplify and just create a flow without the pressure. So friends, just remember that God's not done. As you work through this, as He's continuing to create that work in you, He's continuing to guide you, continuing to grow you. So just keep showing up one faithful step at a time, and He will continue to show up. So friends, I absolutely love talking about this area of preparing our hearts for the new year. It's one of my favorite topics because I think we so often, like I said in the beginning, we quickly run off to all the things, the next goal, the next project, and we very, very rarely take the time to look back and reflect. There's so many different things that we miss along the way because we're in that fast speed. And though we're going into probably one of the most busiest seasons, taking this small amount of time, this little bit of time to go back and reflect will actually prepare you and actually give you peace and more calm as you step into these next couple months. We're not done yet. We have a whole 2 months yet to do to live out the goals that we've created and step into new things and continue to grow. But this is a great time to start looking back so that we can look ahead with more clarity and more purpose. So friends, as always, please share this with anyone that you think that it would help. I do this every week because I really want to be able to share the things that I have learned that have helped me along the way. I'm not perfect, and believe me, I have a lot of growing to do. But as I get to look back and spend my time reflecting over this past year, I just encourage you to invite you to do that and invite someone else to come along with you and say, hey, I just heard this episode and I really want to take time to reflect. Let's do that together and keep each other accountable, right? Doesn't that sound good? So friends, please remember that you are worthy and capable of living a full and flourishing life. Success isn't just possible, it's meant for you. Take care. Thank you for joining me on Flourish. I hope today's episode left you feeling inspired and equipped to take your next step with confidence. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love, love, love for you to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend who needs this encouragement. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at steph.book and join our Facebook community of faith-driven women who are ready to flourish. Make sure to check out the show notes for all the ways we can connect and continue this journey of growth together. My friends, remember, you are worthy and capable of living a full and flourishing life. Success isn't just possible, it's meant for you. Take care.